Give me a minute, guys. Oh, he says moment. I already fucked it up.
All right, let's do it again.
Give me a moment, guys. I have to think about my whole life before I podcast. Anyway, that's the end, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it started, and I was born in New Bedford. And sorry, the joke was that I was thinking about my whole life. And I was hoping to say like 2 words, and then everyone would laugh, and it was just staring at me. Really scared.
I wanted to see you do more of the bit.
I was
Yeah, I thought that was more of a bit.
I also was born in New Bedford, so I'm like, oh, I wonder where this is going to go.
Is this about me?
It's about me?
No. Okay. So, well, hey, as you guys know, I don't know how to start the podcast yet. So it'll either be bits, or, I mean, probably it should be, but it's not always, or something along the lines of welcome to Late to the Movies. My name is Ben Holt, and this podcast where my friends and I get to fill in our movie blind spots. Each week, we'll pick a movie that either I or a guest hadn't seen before. This week, kicking off a new month, this May, is going to be Music Month. It's not musicals, and it's not musical biopics. It's either like a parody of musical biopics, as is this episode, or movies that really heavily feature or are about music, but no musicals. That's my promise to you. This week, we're starting with Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story. 2007 Jake Kasdan film, co-written by him and Judd Apatow. All right, and that's all the information I have on it. Just kidding. Left to right across your podcast out, we got Bree.
Hello.
Sam.
Music.
And Vaz.
Hello, Ben,
Hello.
my favorite 14-year-old child.
Yeah. I'm your 12-year-old girlfriend. Yeah, good month. Good. I'm looking forward to it.
And that's all we have for this month.
Yeah. All
Before-
right, goodbye, everyone.
Before we get into our first episode of the month on Walk Hard, I don't even really have to ask. I know we've all seen something recently that we all want to talk about, but can we...
I'll say it in unison.
I was gonna, okay, sure, but first, I think, benefited by not knowing that much about it going in. The movie I'm talking about is Beau's Afraid. So if we wanted to say it in unison, of course, but then give like, should you see this movie? And then we can talk about it more, and I'll put a timestamp in there for when you can skip spoilers. Do you think people should go see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't know if you
Okay.
need to see it in theaters, but you probably should see it before you know what's going on.
You should see it in IMAX.
It's an IMAX, and it's funny that it is, and you should see it there.
Yeah, I definitely probably would say IMAX. I would say theaters. I think there'd be less of an effect if you just watched it at home, I think. But either way, watch it.
you need the other people around you to react.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun, awkward laughter. Speaking of awkward laughter, when I was there, we had bought the tickets in advance. Me, Vaz, and Bree went together, and they had bought the tickets. I wasn't really listening a ton. I was just like, yeah, I'll go.
Yeah, and I think you even said like, don't invite Ben, right?
Yeah,
you said
specifically don't invite Ben.
Yeah.
That's pretty messed up.
Yeah, we were just followed Holty.
Yeah. Fortunately, I didn't go by myself, so I didn't invite you guys either. So I can't be that mad.
But it would have been so funny if you were at the same. Like, oh, this,
Hey guys.
But so like we walked in, me and Bree, I went to get concessions, and unfortunately came in, I don't know, like within a minute of it starting, but like it was already started, so you're doing the awkward, like, ooh, gotta shift it. And we sat down, and like I was watching it, and I'm like 10 minutes went by, and I just thought, oh man, this screen's really big. I can't think of that many times where I have to like look, like literally turn my head side to
And
side.
of course, you guys were front row.
Yeah. but then like 30 minutes in, I'm like, oh, this is an IMAX movie, and I'm a huge dumbass. Like I just completely shut that out of my brain.
Well, it was much bigger than I was expecting. So there's a timestamp in the description, if I remember to put it there, where we'll skip spoilers. Not that we're going to be like, and here's what happened next, because that's not the episode today, but I've loved it. What a good movie.
We spoiling now?
You can if
Yeah.
you want.
Spoilers. Pause right now. Okay. If you didn't pause, it sucks.
It's on you.
The first like, what is
Hour?
it? First act? Yeah, first hour of
That was
this
like
movie.
40 minutes.
I
when
was
he's still
sitting
in the
in
city.
I was sitting in the chair thinking, if this is what the whole movie is, I'm gonna have to leave. Like I can't. Like
A lot of people are saying that's their favorite part.
oh god,
That's my favorite part.
It was more stress inducing than the end of Barry.
Oh, sure. It's
Like-
stress inducing, but it's so
Well,
good.
just like I was just sitting there, like my heart was pounding, and I was like, I don't know if I could do this.
Yeah, that first act where he's still in the city, in my head I was like, this is exactly what anxiety feels like. I was like, this is literally what was in my head back when I still had like the really bad anxiety issues. I was like, this is just it personified in a movie. Like this chaotic. They nailed it.
I really
Absolutely.
love in the beginning when his suitcase gets stolen and he appeals to the janitor.
You're
like,
fucked,
yeah,
buddy.
he says you're fucked, buddy, which is just the perfect example for how, like as a microcosm of how you feel when you're that stressed out about something.
Yeah.
Just like, why would you say that?
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, it's great. And then Amy Ryan and Nathan Lane come in.
Oh,
Yep.
Just the palate cleanser I needed. Just Nathan Lane just coming in to tuck me in at night.
Calling him my guy and stuff. It's so good.
Yeah, he stole the show when he was on screen.
Yeah, I love Nathan Lane.
I don't think, was there anything Nathan Lane did in the whole movie that was like negative? Like other than gaslighting a little bit, but like he was never, I don't think he was ever like shouting or causing physical harm. Maybe
No,
extending
but he
anxiety.
put on
implication-
undue stress on Beau.
Yeah, he did put some stress.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of gaslighting.
Yeah.
And I think the implication is that all these people are just like tests set up by his
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
all actors.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
true too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely a big spoiler alert.
What do you mean? His mom's dead. What are you talking about?
both actresses that played his mom, so good.
Oh yeah.
The actress who I always forget her name, but only remember her as
Zoe Lister-Jones.
Councilwoman Fawn Moscato from New Girl. And then obviously Patti LuPone also.
When the part on the boat started, I really was like, I don't think I want to watch Fawn Moscato fuck her son, because that's kind of the vibe it was giving off at the beginning.
Yes, that is absolutely the vibe.
But now, not what happens. Not what happens.
That kid, not CGI. He just looks like that.
I love that trend of people thinking he's not real and him being on TikTok being like, nope, that's just my face.
I mean, he does look like what you'd imagine a very small
Yeah,
Joaquin
so
Phoenix would
uncanny,
look like.
yeah.
Despite the fact that Joaquin Phoenix was famous when he was young, so you can see what he looked like.
Oh man.
Great movie. I think the only part of the movie that I'm really wasn't into at all was that very prolonged section of the show, like play within the play, where they're just kind of going over a fake life for Beau that mirrors some of what's happening already in
Yeah.
the movie.
So my thing, I don't know the answer to this, but is that a joke?
So like,
Because
it
the
has-
whole time you know that guy's never had sex.
yeah, and it's a great punchline at
Yes.
the end. Like even
Yeah.
though you know it's coming, and
You
they
know
take
it's coming
so
15
long
minutes or
to get
before
there.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be like if he stopped being so worried, that was supposed to be like the projected life.
Yeah.
So it's like almost like a cruel joke, I think it's supposed to be, where it's like,
A lot
oh,
of
if
the
you
movie
weren't
is.
so
Yeah.
where it's supposed to be like, oh, if you stopped being so paranoid, or if you look at it this way, if your mother wasn't the way that she was, this could have been your life.
Yeah, because he breaks his chains before he even goes on like that journey
Right.
of his.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Great life.
which is
Yeah.
his
Well-
mother is the chain.
Yeah, actually, he spends most of that life searching for his kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ultimately.
Ultimately, yeah.
Right. The whole thing with his mom, like that's like probably my favorite part of the movie is that it's my interpretation anyway. You never really know what is really happening or what's just like an exaggeration of his paranoia. And I think that's
Yes.
just great. Like there's some things that are just so surreal that it's like they portray it kind of realistic, but then there's something just wacky, like the intruder that's like on the ceiling. Like who could have stayed there and stayed that long,
And
then
the spider on
tumbling-
him.
and the spider. Like it's stuff that it's like he's definitely exaggerating the situation because he's paranoid.
Yeah. I like that it never gives a clear answer to is this the world that he lives in or is it just how he's perceiving it, but it's our world.
Right.
And it never answers that, which I appreciate. My favorite part of it's the Parker Posey section, obviously.
I mean, yeah, that is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Oh my god.
Her face when, like, I know it's like literally the end, but the fucking smash cut to her face, like everyone in the theater knows she's dead.
Yes,
like everyone,
it's very clear.
You're just waiting for the reveal, and the fucking face she has is so good.
The smash cuts to the dead faces in this movie are jarring. Like the girl when she kills herself with the paint is wild.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
So I missed her eyes. They were both Vaz and Bree were saying specifically how like uncomfortable and jarring her face was, and I was like, I don't know if I was just looking at Joaquin Phoenix, but I was like, oh, she's dead. I don't care. like that. Like,
yeah,
It's
just
just, she
a
looks
fucked up
so
face.
dead.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
it
mean,
was-
This is the guy who, of course, also smash cut to a decapitated young girl's head
Yeah.
on the side
Yeah.
of the road.
Yeah.
Like it's someone loses their head in all three of his movies.
Yep.
What's up with that?
He has to call his mom, and maybe he hates women. No, he doesn't hate women.
It's not always women, right? They smash that old guy's head
Yep.
in
In
Midsommar.
Midsummer.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Midsummer for me.
It's not his character.
Now you're spoiling Midsummer.
There's a lot of death in Midsummer.
Yeah,
But,
specifically, no more head stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of death, I really liked with the I'm going to call him the it's too hot like guy in the street. They cut to that guy being dead, and you see like the wound on his neck. And it's like one of those things like you're like, that's probably the spider, but like, I don't know. And then like they slowly inch in the like the brown recluse like thing. So you're like, this is the spider. The spider
Yeah.
did this. Which is like a nice little nod to what's going to become a more apparent plot point in a second.
Yeah, and to finish our mini look at Beau is Afraid, if you've been still listening, even though you haven't watched it for whatever reason, and I'm going to let this part run long because I feel like it's fair if I put in a timestamp where that you can skip to. What do you guys think of the ending?
I really like Richard Kind. But I was kind of like
Much like Bill Hader when you only hear him on the phone originally, and like that's Richard Kind. I'm glad he eventually showed up in person.
Yeah, I think he did a great job. I think it made sense. After reading it with all the symbolism and stuff, I liked it a little more, but during it I was kind of like, all right, fine. Like, you know, it kind of just seemed like an abrupt ending that I didn't understand, which was true at the time. And then once I read more into it, I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
I really liked it. It reminded me a lot of Scorsese endings where it puts a lot of onus on the audience of just like all the people watching this and how we are.
Perhaps the most onus ever put on an audience.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
we-
Like you're literally leaving the theater while the audience
Yes.
in the movie
Yep.
is leaving.
It shows you a stadium seating, like, you know, and they're in the dark with like a projector light.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Very meta.
fucking boom.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I loved that ending. Like it was the way that
I
it
still
ended
had
with
hope that
him.
Beau was going to get out of this one. But I'm kidding. Go on, sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, the way that like it ends with him just kind of like letting go. And kind of ending the way it started because again, we weren't there like at the very beginning, but apparently it starts with him being born. So it's like, oh, he returns. It ends how it started almost. It's
a POV of him being born.
right. So yeah, I really liked how that ended. I think it was appropriate.
I also like that his inner voice gets killed. Or his argument voice.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
gets,
yeah.
Gets straight Midsommar.
Yeah.
Ceremonially
Yeah.
dumped on rocks.
And you see like the rocks are like already covered in blood from something.
I also love how down the therapist was to just absolutely fucking skewer that dude. Like at the beginning, he does seem caring, and in his best minute, he like comes
Just
out,
so
he's like, "No, I was fucking with you the
Yeah.
whole time."
It's for some reason, I mean, that dude's in so many things, but I mean,
Stephen something Hendricks.
three names.
Yeah,
like,
the three names always throws me off. Stephen is his first one.
Yeah.
So we all know Steven.
Yeah,
Steven's in this movie.
Lady Bird,
Loyal
Debs.
Mentat for the Atreides family that ends up working for the Harkonnens for so
Yep,
long. That's in
dude.
part 2, but we know it's coming.
Now you're just spoiling movies that haven't come out yet.
That book's 60 years
No
old.
one wrote Dune. I know one person who's read every Dune book, and he doesn't listen to this podcast.
Robbie listens.
Ah, shit. Damn it, Robbie.
And I know enough about the future ones. Well, that's coming out this fall. We'll talk about Dune when it comes out. But yeah, I loved Beau is Afraid. Are you keeping like any kind of running list for your top movies of the year yet?
No, I'm actually going to wait until the end of the year to do it.
Okay.
Yes.
I do mine as kind of like a running list.
Yes.
This is very near the top.
John Wick, I imagine, is number 1, right?
It is, yeah.
Because I think that's the only 5 you've given so far this year.
It is.
It's
Nice to meet a fan.
Yeah.
Like, familiar with my work on Letterboxd.
I keep up.
Yeah.
So after watching this, I was like, I don't know, like I want to watch it again, but I was like, I don't really want to watch it again. But after a few days away from it, I do want to watch it again,
Yeah.
and I'm sure I'll watch it again before the end of the year.
Yeah,
my
that's fair.
rating, I'm sure, will change as well. It'll probably be more positive. Hopefully, it could be no more negative. Who knows?
Yeah.
What's to a whim. But so far, it's ranking relatively high, considering the list is not super. Like, I think they're just Infinity Pool and John Wick 4 above it.
Okay, cool. I have this above Infinity Pool, which I don't know. I want to revisit that one.
We have
it didn't super work for me.
Diametrically opposed takes on those two movies, Beau and Infinity Pool.
Yeah. There's been a decent amount of like straight horror movies, but the kind of sideways horror-ish movies. Yeah. This one worked better than Infinity Pool for me.
I'm the other way around.
Right, yeah. I
We're
know.
not a couple. I'm Oscar. He's Felix.
You
No,
think you're Oscar?
I've
I forget
never
which one's
been
which.
accused of being Felix.
I forget which one's which.
We are in a.
I'm Jack Lemmon. He's Walter Matthau.
Yeah, you just said you were Walter Matthau.
Oh, okay. That's what I
yeah,
thought.
no.
From those reactions, I
You're
figured
Tony
it out.
Randall. But yeah, Stephen McKinley Henderson.
Thank
Thank
you.
Yeah, the further I get from Beau is Afraid, the more I like it, because like one of my big things about movies is if I'm still thinking about it positively, then it's making a lasting impact, and that's when I consider it like really good. Like I love Midsummer because that got me fucked up for like 3 days.
Nice.
Like that like I love that movie. And Hereditary was really good too, and he's quickly becoming one of my favorite directors. But yeah, I love this movie. And I definitely rate it higher now than I did when I first saw it.
The way that you think about Beau is Afraid is the way I thought about Babylon when I first saw it. I watched it and then I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Right.
And then I had to see it again the next week. And then I was like, yeah, I love this movie.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to put it. The ones all at the top of my list are ones that I watched and then it was like stuck with me. We'll see by the end of the year, so many other things are going to come out, but I think at least this and John Wick 4 and maybe Skinamarink will still be up there.
I mean, we're only 4 months in.
Yeah.
We still got summer blockbusters, Barbie.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I
Oppenheimer.
can't wait for Barbie.
Guardians
excited for-
3.
Yeah.
Guardians 3 is next week.
Beast Wars or whatever.
Rise of the Beasts.
Yeah, Rise of the Beast.
That Scorsese movie.
Rise of the Beast.
Rise of the Beasts. Transformers, Rise of the Beasts, yeah. Killers of the Flower Moon, they finally put out 2 more pictures of, so it's not just the same picture.
Four.
Two of them at the table?
Hours.
It's 2 different angles of them. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's shorter than Irishman.
I'm gonna watch like a mini series. I swear to God. Like
You
I'm
should
not
do
even
that.
lying. I'm gonna do it. You can't.
Have respect for Thelma Schoonmaker's editing.
I love
Yes.
Thelma, but
Listen, we
she's.
all
I
love
think.
Thelma.
I think. Didn't Thelma pass away, or was that? Oh no, that was Quentin Tarantino's.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, oh no, did she?
Thelma's still kicking.
Good.
I
She
have,
can't go until Martin goes, and neither of them can die, I believe.
It seems to be the case. Are you surprised we didn't see what happened when he didn't get water, or do you think what happens in the movie is what happened when he didn't actually get water that time?
So you think his cum is radioactive because he didn't get water?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's
Potentially.
right.
See that?
I think it took too long to drink it.
I did.
I don't know that there's a lot of answers in the text of the film.
From the, I was gonna say also from the space of it, not watching it at the time, but from the space of it, I can really appreciate the not getting water being the catalyst of like the most. It's really just it's really just the cinemized version of that YouTube video of the guy going, "I gotta get the bread and milk. I gotta get the bread and milk."
well, there's so much about this movie that revolves around water, including his last name. So him not getting the water is pretty pivotal.
And his final moments.
Yeah. So
He gets a lot of water then.
He gets a lot of water.
Glug glug.
That thing really flips on him. Yeah, for me, it's like, I don't know, because everyone's like, it's so weird. It's going to freak you out. And I don't know, I thought it was pretty easy to follow if you just accept that this is either super heightened or he's just bad at telling you what's happening.
Yeah.
And
It's
the people who
fine.
say it's super weird just haven't seen enough weird stuff.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, this is nowhere near as hard to follow as like most David Lynch movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very time knife
Yeah.
adjacent, where it's like if I went to tell my mom to watch this, it'd be terrible. But if I went to like movie
Yeah.
watching friends, they'd be like, yeah, we get like weird abstract existential dread, of course.
Yeah, because it's like the existential dread is there, but there is like a consistent Odyssey structured
Yeah.
Yeah.
journey that this guy goes on
And the movie's like,
that has defined points throughout.
yeah, I was about to say, it has clear cut points where like,
Yeah.
this is one part of it, and here's another part because he gets knocked out at each part.
Yeah.
The Jewish Lord of the Rings, as Ari Aster calls
Yeah,
it.
right.
Journeying to his mother's house.
Yes.
Here's actually
With a lot of Albert Brooks.
yeah.
So that's one of the things I've seen recently. But anyway, so that's Beau is afraid. Ben is afraid it was too short. Could have used another 20 minutes with Beau.
Apparently, it was supposed to be like half an hour longer or something
Good.
like that,
That's
and
not
he cut
surprising.
it. Yeah,
I was
Yeah.
I wonder
very
where that half hour
Give
is
me
supposed to
the
be.
F Cinema score cut.
I was very thrown off by the pacing of that movie. I thought we were wrapping up when he got to the house, and there was about an hour left.
Yeah, you'd think.
Yeah,
It feels like it should be, but no. Another thing I haven't seen yet, but will be seeing this weekend. I promise this is a transition, then we're going to talk about Walk Tomorrow, I'm going to go see the 40th anniversary re-release of Return of the Jedi. Looking forward to that. Should be fun. I wonder which version they're showing. Hopefully one of the good ones.
You're
Not.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be like the newest one.
you're gonna see Hayden
Probably.
Christensen Ghost in there.
Yeah.
Not my thinking is, Hayden Christensen, Ghost, and do they do the song with the CGI person in Jabba's palace?
Oh, I bet they will.
we'll see.
They love that song.
Yeah, George Lucas loves that song. It's all he listens to.
He's a
That how it goes?
And it's like the weird like 3D bits that they're doing where stuff's like coming out of the screen. You're like, this was never shown in 3D. Co-written by Lawrence Kasdan. His son is Jake Kasdan, who directed Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story. I've seen this movie a bunch of times. It's in the rotation pretty often for me. It came out in 2007. No one saw it then, but I've seen it a lot since.
Yep.
How about you guys?
I remember seeing it, I don't know, maybe in 2010.
Yeah.
I think I just saw it like on television once. And I only just saw it recently today, right before the podcast.
Cool.
I've told both of them that the first time I saw this was mostly like I had heard a lot of jokes about it without context. So like and not even necessarily knowing what movie it was from. So I think like I didn't watch it when it came out, and then probably somewhere in the early 10s I was like, oh, I watched this, and then like rapid fire all the jokes that I had heard like in the last 3 or 4 years like came out. So I was like, oh, that's where Wrong Kid died and
You don't
Edith,
want
I
none of
can't
this shit.
build you. Yeah. And,
I can't build you a house.
I
Yeah.
can't build you a candy house. But yeah, so
built it.
I think that was the only time I saw it. I loved it. Hadn't seen it since. Of the movies you've been like, oh, can you watch this, movie for this podcast? Besides maybe Wet Hot American Summer, which I probably watch like yearly. This was probably the most excited I've been to rewatch something. Just because I was like, I know I loved it. I hope it's aged well. I think it has. And yeah.
this was my first time seeing it, and I'm very, very upset that I didn't watch this earlier.
Good.
Because
Good to hear.
I love stupid comedy. Like I love the type of comedy that this movie is, where like you get ridiculous things like someone getting chopped in half and still talking.
Like a particularly bad case of someone getting chopped in half.
And it scratches like similar to like Wet Hot American Summer, where it's just
Sure.
ridiculous humor that's just so stupid and not really clever, but it's just funny. And it has no right to be that funny. I had a great time watching this.
That's great to hear. Who wants to give us a 1-minute plot summary?
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you're on the clock.
Fast pointed at me. So Dewey Cox is a kid, and he chops his brother in half, no context, and then he's got blues, so he starts singing the blues, and he becomes famous in a completely normal way for a white person in the 50s, and then he uses that to get on drugs, and then when he gets on drugs, everything goes bad, and then when everything goes bad, worse stuff happens to him, and then he has a weird Brian Wilson period in the middle, and then he gets on the other side of it, and then he wins the very prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award, and then he dies. Walk hard, walk hard, walk hard.
Good job. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It is a send-up of musical biopics. The ones that had come out right before this, Ray and Walk the Line, are probably the biggest ones, but it does like everyone that had come out basically at that point.
Coal Miner's Daughter.
Even since then,
Coal Miner's
like
Daughter.
the newest ones that have come out in the last few years because they've had a resurgence, all follow the same format too.
Yes, they do.
Weird, the Al Yankovic story.
Everyone who gets introduced as a character is the most important person in their life for a time.
Yep.
They hear a word and go, and then they write a song immediately. Yeah. This movie's incredible. I love this movie. And it is, as far as like big studio movies, probably the only one that stars John C. Reilly as an actual star, like the centerpiece of the movie.
Yeah.
Carnage?
Cedar Rapids? No, that was an Ed Helms movie. We were talking about that though, that it's not like my memory of it was the John C. Reilly Heat Check movie of like he's been in a bunch of these movies. He really hadn't. He had been in television.
2007.
Yeah, I mean, he had his whole Oscar career. Like the whole thing with John C. Reilly was weird because he is a very serious stage and movie actor. He had literally been
He's like
nominated.
doing this while he's doing True West on
Yeah.
stage or whatever.
He had been nominated for. I don't think he won. He just
He was nominated for
He was
Chicago.
nominated for Chicago.
He was in Boogie Nights.
fucking
He was in
great
Boogie
Chicago.
Nights. He was in
Boogie Nights 2. Let's Boogie Some More.
Electric Boogie Doo.
The Electric Boogie.
What was the Daniel Day-Lewis Leonardo DiCaprio movie? It's
Gangs of New York.
He's in Gangs of New York. And then he has Talladega Nights. He has a couple other comedies, I think, too. And like stuff like there's comedy in some of those. Like Boogie Nights it's definitely a drama, but there's some funny parts of it.
Sure,
Where
like most PTA movies.
Yep. So like a lot of this was kind of an interesting cast because it is really just a year after Talladega Nights. It's not like Step Brothers hadn't come out yet. There was no actual establishment for him being a comedic actor. So kind of a lot to put on John C. Reilly at the time.
Yeah. So Jake Kasdan brought the idea to Judd Apatow. He'd worked with him in Talladega Nights. And he is like a guy who they're like, well, he can do comedy and he's also a really good singer and can play a lot of instruments.
So
So
that was his singing.
yeah,
And his
that was
guitar
him singing.
playing.
Yeah,
And his guitar playing,
and
huh?
his playing. Yeah, so he's actually singing and playing in
wow.
the movie, which is why it is so good. And then also they put a ton of effort into making the songs actually good.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty incredible central performance in a movie that, like you said, it's like the dumb comedy stuff that's going on. So you wouldn't necessarily think that they're looking for like hyper talented people to do the actual music in it, but they did that, and it's super bombed when it came out.
Yep.
Ugh.
Made like it wasn't even that high of a budget, and it barely made half its budget.
Yeah, I mean, it was made for me in a time where I was watching probably the most movies of my life, which was like high school.
Yeah.
And it was there. I loved Talladega Nights. I said to myself, I want to see that, but like just never got enough people to go, and then just didn't, and then saw it later.
I think it'd be a hard sell because like what do you sell it on? Here's this guy who isn't a star,
Yep.
who is the main character in the movie, and it's like he's playing it so not straight because he's still really funny and he's like doing bits and there's a lot of physical comedy also, but it's not like what jokes do you pull out?
Yeah.
And that make it's too close to the source material that if you just pull it out, you're like, oh, this looks like a particularly bad Oscar bait biopic where everyone is just saying what is happening while it's happening.
And if you hadn't seen a biopic before that, which at the time I probably hadn't, I still haven't seen Ray, to be honest.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
Yeah. And
I had seen Walk the Line when this comes
yeah,
out.
so that would help. I probably hadn't. So
Yeah.
like that's the kind of thing where it's like I might have just gone and laughed at the funny bits, like when the kid gets
Yeah.
chopped in half, but I probably wouldn't have enjoyed the nuance of some of the parody beats.
Or I should say, whenever it was that I watched this for the first time, I had seen Walk the Line by then, both of which I doubt I saw in theaters. So control of tone in this movie is so impressive. It's like an absolutely masterfully pitched tone that everyone is perfectly in sync with. Even like the minor characters, like I don't even know who it is, but like the club manager at the all black club that he works at briefly, like every line that guy says has 5 jokes in it, and he's just playing it like pretty straight.
Yeah,
but it's just that control of tone that is so perfect throughout, and it makes you wonder why hasn't Jake Kasdan made any other good movies. And he's made some okay movies, like a lot of pretty okay movies.
And one thing that I really like about this movie compared to like a lot of other comedies is that it doesn't go too crazy, but it still like is crazy, and it's like it plays it straight, but it like I don't see that in like a lot of comedies. It's either like everything is a joke, so nothing is funny, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think it goes with the tone. I feel like if you're gonna be that goofy, your like your diction and stuff also can't be that goofy, or else it stops being as funny. Like if you're playing all these jokes straight, I think it makes it more funny, because then it doesn't seem like you're trying too hard to be funny.
All the characters seem like they are part of this world, and that's what they want to be.
Yeah.
They're not like trying to just be funny. They are just being ridiculous, not on purpose.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. It's all very serious to the characters, I guess, is why it's so funny. His main bandmates throughout the movie are like everyone in this movie, just sort of a murderer's row of it's Tim Meadows, Matt Besser, and Chris Parnell, who each of whom are usually the funniest guy in a small role in other movies. And here they are like doing, Tim Meadows is so funny.
Yeah.
Though his delivery on and I've seen it like on film Twitter or whatever, you can pick like any of like maybe 6 or 7 line deliveries that he gives. And it's like, well, this is the best line delivery in a comedy ever.
Not once.
Not once. That's the big one, I think.
Very, very similar to when he plays the principal in Mean Girls.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, like, he had to...
And they got, like, a bunch of guys who can play parts like that, and that's every role in this movie.
Right.
He probably got the role for Never Stop, Never Stopping pop star just because they saw this movie, and they were like, we just need... Like, they all know Tim Meadows. So they were like, let's just grab Tim Meadows and do this. Because he already killed basically a similar role for us.
Right.
Obviously, you don't want none of this. all of his runs about drugs
the
are
natural next step for you.
No, it will give you a boner.
Those bits, I think that joke was made like 4 times, and it never stopped being funny. Like every time, it was just funnier. And usually, like bits can kind of run dry. It's like, well, they already made this joke like a couple times already. No, this one was funny every time.
Yeah. Every time. I think the most quoted one is the one about weed.
Yeah.
And then also the bit of the cocaine one where it takes all your bad feelings and makes them good feelings. But yeah, it's so funny. This is sort of what happens with comedies. Like, do we want to go beat by beat through the plot? I think this one's more about tone and performance.
Yeah.
I agree. I would like to talk about character actress Margot Martindale.
I do too. That's where I was going next. And the dad from Justified.
Yeah. I haven't seen Justified, so I couldn't say that.
You should watch Justified.
I'll watch
because
Justified.
Margot Martindale is
who?
She's the person you just mentioned.
Character actress Margot Martindale?
Character actress Margot Martindale. That's what she won an Emmy for, was season 2 of Justified. So you should watch Justified.
I will eventually.
I'm directing this at you right now, but that goes for everyone.
I know Walter Goggins.
Walton.
Damn it.
Damn him.
Don't know him that well.
I just know him from Community.
Oh, really?
In the 3rd Major League movie.
You wanted to talk about character actress Margot Martindale.
Yes, yeah, I did.
Do it.
I think she's not in there as much as I would like her to be, because she does have that tragic death of her vertigo. And then the radio crushing her skull.
Underrated joke in the movie is her, anytime she's regretting that he lost his sense of smell.
Yeah.
But the first time when she's like, "You go and smell blood, son." It's tough because this is, it is going to devolve into like jokes and stuff, but it's so densely packed with jokes while still like having actually good songs in it and having like a compelling-ish narrative too. It's so tough.
I assume you were going to ask this at some point,
Yeah.
but could I ask like what everyone's favorite song was in the movie?
Yeah, I mean,
Or do you want to save that?
the one about the wow, I'm stuttering so much because I changed my answer in my head. I think the setup to punchline of "Why don't you ask why Bob Dylan sounds like me?" and then it cuts to him doing like a one-to-one Dylan impression, and then it goes into his song about little people.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
It is.
I'm sorry, but the correct answer is Let's Duet.
That's my
Yes.
favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably
Let's do it.
It's Let's Do It. Yeah.
You
Let's-
come in my back door.
Yeah.
Let's
so
do-
that's best song versus funniest, I guess,
Yeah.
for me.
Let's Duet is so good that like I'm shocked it wasn't actually just a song that's already happened. Like maybe not
Yes.
with that much like parody to it, but just the Let's Duet like just as a chorus, you know, in some point. I don't think maybe it has, but I don't think it's been used before.
Yes. Also, I mean, very funny, but also working on the level of this sounds like a song that already exists,
Yep.
which so many of these do. And I should mention, I keep saying like all the songs in this are good, but I mean like the way they're capturing the specific period or style or artists that they're aping in it is like
Even like
so much attention to detail.
the punk version of Walk Hard is good.
Like some kind of punk. Yeah. And then, yeah, there's always moments in movies like this where you're like, you know, Johnny Cash invented disco. And it's like, yeah, well, Dewey Cox invented punk in the 50s or 60s, wherever.
I also I have a very like a very soft spot for the early day song that makes all the kids
the
super
devil
horny.
music?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
the,
like,
the
when-
holding hands song.
Yeah.
Yeah, take my hand.
Take my hand.
You know who has hands?
Yeah. The devil.
But yes, and that scene's in Elvis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where a bunch of women are overcome with hormonal fury.
Overcome.
Ripping their blouses off.
Did you laugh at overcome because it has cum in it?
Overcome.
You have to cut all the rest of
Oh,
her
you
lines.
said hormonal fury or whatever it was.
It's a common
makes
noun.
sense. It works as a double entendre.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't have been a good enough double entendre to make it into the writing for Let's Do It.
I wanna beat off my demons.
It's just so funny. And it's like, yeah, it's got
I
that one
wanna
joke.
blow you. Some
Some
kisses.
kisses.
Yeah. It's a great, it's just so good.
Yep. Walk Hard's good too, like the song.
Beautiful Ride. It's
It's
just a nice song.
Yeah.
And confronting mortality. Or,
Yeah.
It seemed very Warren Zevon-esque. Like
Well, for the last album, for sure. And of course, Neil Young is the wise prophet Ezekiel. I like Eddie Vedder's whole intro to that is so funny.
This is again at the end, but
Yeah, we're skipping around today, guys.
sorry, Greg.
when Dewey is fighting off the Temptations, and then he sees
my
the
God.
Temptations, like, oh,
That
the
was so
Temptations.
fucking funny. Oh my god, that's one of the best jokes in that
I
movie.
think that's my favorite.
That's
joke.
actually the Temptations.
They give the Temptations so much time too. It's not like,
Well, because you got the actual Temptations
Yeah.
there, so because you could have just had a group of men singing "My Girl."
yeah.
But no, well, we have the actual Temptations here, so you're gonna get a whole chorus of "My Girl."
Do we want to go over maybe best cameo? Because there's a ton.
Jack White.
There's
It's-
so
Yeah.
Purposely miscast. Jack
Only two
White.
kinds of people know karate: the Chinese and the king.
And I'm the king.
And I'm one of them.
I like to think that they didn't give him any lines because I've
Yeah.
seen Jack White in concert. He is that insane.
Yeah.
that was such a terrible Elvis impression too.
That's the point. They purposely miscast
Yeah.
Elvis, and obviously, I mean, the
The
Beatles.
Beatles, like
Yeah.
I was going to bring up the Beatles because that might be one of my
got it.
favorite
So
scenes
when's
in the
Conan
movie.
Fish?
That their accents are horrible. Like
typically Paul Rudd.
Just
Imagine.
Paul Rudd's not even trying to get anywhere close.
no, and it's amazing. That whole scene is so funny.
I don't know why, but they are purposely doing a bad job. I
Yeah.
love that Jack Black for one line switches to Scottish and then switches back afterwards. So yeah, and it's Justin Long and
Jason Schwartzman.
Schwartzman, right? Yeah. So I got confused because David Krumholtz is also in this movie, and I wanted to say that when I said Jason Schwartzman.
Do you think that
I do want to. And then my second favorite joke is when
This is what
Krumholtz
comedy
dies.
podcasts evolve into. I'm sorry, guys.
When Krumholtz dies at the very end,
And it
his
comes
ghost
back in as a
joins-
Force ghost. Yeah. All the Force ghosts are funny.
Krumholtz is only good in movies he dies in?
This is the end.
Yep, that's it.
Yep.
Santa Claus 2, he famously gets murdered.
If we're gonna talk favorite scenes, my favorite scene is literally the very, very end where he dies 3 minutes after the concert. And it's just on the screen. Dewey Cox dies 3 minutes after the that's fucking hilarious.
And then it's like Dewey Cox, 1937 to 2006 or whatever. Did you guys stay for the post-credits sequence?
I did.
I didn't, and
We didn't?
I meant to tell you about it before the podcast. And
I thought we got like really far in the credits.
No,
What was the
it's-
post credits?
It's like footage of the real Dewey Cox. Like how music biopics always have like footage
We
of the
did
real
see that,
person at the
didn't
end.
Oh, if you did, I was in the bathroom or something.
Yeah.
I've seen it
Yeah.
since.
And it's just also John C. Reilly.
Yeah, but yeah,
But
it's
he has a
just
different voice.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Great.
I do think we should talk a little bit about the beginning because I think the beginning is
Let's do some
the
the
plot
beginning's probably my
points.
favorite
We haven't
part.
mentioned Kristen Wiig,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
instance.
This is early SNL, not breakout Kristen Wiig, and yeah, there's the whole part with the little kids and the kids like talking about how great his life's gonna be.
I'm gonna
That's
be
the
an
great thing
astronaut.
about being young. You got so much time to do things.
One of my favorite parts was early on. I paused it for some reason on Amazon, and it said like Dewey age 8, and the other name was just like Nate. It didn't say like Nate age 8. And I
Yeah.
was like,
I think
"Oh,
Jonah Hill's credited as Old Nate.
Yeah, Ghost Nate.
It might be Ghost Nate, yeah.
But yeah, the line read of "this is a particularly bad case of being cut in half" is so good. All the wrong kid died. and
Yeah,
stuff.
all good.
Also, I guess for bits to stray back away from the plot, go back to bits. Every time he rips a sink
Yeah.
off in every act, and then the final act, he rips like an entire bathroom's worth, or like
Yeah.
public bathrooms worth of sinks off.
Yeah. So he goes into that dark period after Jenna Fischer leaves him the
we
first
can talk
time.
about Jenna Fischer.
So yeah, why? She's really good in this.
Yeah.
So
What happened?
yeah. So again,
I guess The Office just took up most of her time.
I mean, that's fair.
this is
She's still in the office for a long time after this.
Yeah.
07.
Yeah.
I think Office ended in like early 10s.
I think so.
Like 13 or so. But it's funny because right around this time, I feel like there was a lot of Jenna Fischer vehicles that they were like, oh, she can be like a love interest. Like not I don't think there was that many things that she starred in,
Mhm.
but she's in Blades of Glory. She's in
Hall
this.
Pass.
She's in Hall Pass. Hall Pass is probably was like her last chance, and it just
Slither.
It's weird.
yeah.
It's just weird.
James Gunn movies. I don't know.
She's good in this, so who knows?
She's kind of good in Blades of Glory. She doesn't have as much to do. She has way more to do here.
Yeah, she has a lot more to do here. But she's still not, it's still not like a co-lead in a rom-com amount of screen time.
No.
Um,
But yeah, I don't
But
think.
still.
Yeah, she's the straight girl pretty good and stuff, but this shows that she at least has chops.
now she has a podcast.
She's got a very successful podcast, which got her, assumedly, was one of the main reasons why she's in the new Mean Girls musical movie.
Yeah.
She'll be playing Regina George's mom, I think, or no,
I think it's Katie's mom.
She's playing Katie's mom.
Yeah.
That's right. That makes way more sense.
Oh, okay.
But
The Mean Girls-
the
Gasteyer?
Anna Gasteyer part.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mean Girls musical movie. Yeah, based off the musical, not the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's good.
But yeah, and she does really good. She doesn't have a ton of one-liners, but she doesn't really need to.
No, she has like almost no she jokes, I guess, but she has some good line delivery. I like every time that she's punching him and stuff.
Yeah.
It's always funny.
I like when they're on the
friends.
yeah, that's good. I like when they're on the tour bus and they're sleeping in the same bunk and she's just right on top of them.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta sleep somewhere. And then I like at the end when he gets his sense of smell back and she
Yeah.
screams,
Oh my
"It's a
God.
miracle!" It's a miracle. So yeah, that stuff's all good. I don't know what to do, guys. It's just the plot is what it is. It's in there. They go through different periods, aping different styles, and it's so good that it ruined biopics for a long time afterwards.
Yep.
Yeah.
And retroactively ruined a lot of ones that came before. I think the ones that have been most, I'm moving to more like world context now. I think the ones that have been successful since then have been ones like Elvis that are just leaning all the way in. Like, I feel like Baz Luhrmann's the ultimate, like, Eminem at the end of 8 Mile. He's like, "What? I'm going to say all this shit about myself. What can you say about me now?" And so Baz Luhrmann's like, "I'm going to do all the cliched stuff turned up to 11, and I'm going to do it all multiple times." Whereas, like, I feel like Bohemian Rhapsody just is so inert and just kind of nothing that you can really take from it.
Yeah, that one particularly is like a bad, not just one of the lowest lows.
Yeah, when I say successful, I know that made a ton of money and won a bunch of awards, but I just mean successful in terms of like
Quality,
being a good movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I did like Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury, but it was fine. I much preferred Rocket Man.
Sure.
Love Taron Egerton in that. Even though I forgot his name.
Elton John?
Elton John.
It's like I took a guess.
Elton John said that movie was like way too PG a version of his life.
Yeah. Well, otherwise they couldn't have gotten it made.
Right. I haven't seen Elvis yet, but I've heard it's really, really good. And like his daughter even like came out and said like this is probably the only good portrayal of my father. So I do have to catch that at some point. And I love Austin Butler. I
don't think it's a good movie, but I had a great time watching it.
I'm a little more lukewarm on that movie because I like Baz Luhrmann style, but it is like a lot of Baz Luhrmann style. Mm-hmm. Like I like after 30 minutes, I was like, oh no, I have so much more of this.
What else has he made?
Moulin Rouge.
That's the big one.
The Great Gatsby.
Strictly Ball.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Australia.
Yeah.
But the big one would be Moulin Rouge.
Gotcha.
So it's big, bombastic, very bold choices, and a lot
Definitely
of people
seemed like it.
do not work with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's moments where there's like 12 different things happening.
Yeah.
Like comic book cell styles.
I think there's like 50 different shots of something spinning, like a record or a Ferris wheel, and then it cuts to like an eye, and then the eye like does something else.
That is a lot.
And you're never gonna believe this, but the accent that Tom Hanks is doing in that is not how that guy actually sounded. The guy just had like a normal Americanized accent. But it's so funny. I think Tom Hanks gives a great performance in that movie, and everyone's like, this guy has never been worse. He's got to check his shit out.
I liked it more than his performance in A Man Called Otto.
All right, well, let's get back to stuff we can. Let's get to stuff we can use on the recording.
So Craig Robinson is in this. I couldn't
Bobby
hear.
Chad.
How does he break his hands?
Yeah, he goes really quickly through it. You shouldn't have punched your landlord, and then there's something else. But I didn't catch the other one.
Yeah.
I think it was something ridiculous.
Yeah.
That whole sequence is pretty good because I think there's like another one where he's a joke that he's still a kid, like, and he I think John,
when he's in rehab, when he's like, I'm 21 years old.
Yeah. Like John C. Reilly was probably like in his late 30s, early 40s when he made that movie, and he looked 60. That's just how his face.
That's just how he looks. Yeah. I really like the Brian Wilson bit.
Yep.
It's funny. I hate to just be like, I liked this bit, it's funny, but I did, and it is. And I like the bit where they're all breaking up with him. And we mentioned the joke before, but Tim Meadows keeps coming back to he never paid for drugs, not once.
Mm-hmm.
He sleeps with Matt Besser's wife.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, we should trade. This is my wife.
Oh, nice. It's all good, but overall, what do you guys think about musical biopics in general? Because it's such a cottage industry that produces Oscars.
I've seen a decent amount because I am trying to still watch all the movies that have been nominated for Best Picture.
Right, yeah.
And by and large, I don't care for them. They do follow just this formula that I don't find it too interesting. I will say I do actually like The Coal Miner's Daughter.
Yeah. That's Loretta Lynn?
Yes.
Okay.
But outside of
Sissy
that one,
Spacek is like
yep, and I really do like Sissy Spacek in that, and Tommy Lee Jones. Outside of that, it's like, and I'm kind of not a big fan of the performances in a lot of them. Like, I think they're good, but a lot of them are just like, oh wow, they are just like the person that they're imitating, and I'm like, that feels like a softball kind of like easy thing to do, or not an easy thing, but like,
I like. It becomes more impression than performance.
Yes, and I will say Austin Butler in Elvis I thought was really good, because I don't think he's just trying to do...
feels like a performance that they're trying to get into some kind of... There's some interior life. It's not just an impression.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I unfortunately haven't really seen a ton. I just looked through a bunch.
Or maybe fortunately.
Yeah, like
Voz has seen them all and likes one.
Yeah, while Voz was talking, I was like, I'm just Googled music biopics and just scrolled through a bunch trying to remind myself of ones I'd seen besides Rocket Man, and I didn't really see any I'd seen. I liked Rocket Man.
I like Rocket Man.
I've
been told
it changes the formula of it too. So
and like that's part of it.
Being a jukebox musical.
Yeah,
had not seen anything about it before I saw it, and like it's a jukebox musical. They're just kind of like getting into situations where they can play Elton John songs while kind of going through his life in a pretty, I wouldn't say abstract manner, but it's definitely not, they're not like 5 years later and it's very snappy cut, very a little abstract here and there.
I think some parts are better than others, but I think the Crocodile Rock bit is great when everyone starts floating.
Yeah, everyone starts floating.
Like it captures the feeling of like discovery in live music in a really interesting way.
Yeah.
I just love musical movies, even if like they're not musicals, but the music is like a very heavy like theme in them. I haven't seen a lot of music biopics. Like I saw Rocket Man and I really liked it. I saw Bohemian Rhapsody and it was fine. I remember these are older, and I haven't seen them in a while, but I remember liking The Runaways and I remember liking the Selena movie with Jennifer Lopez in them. But aside from that, I feel like if you really stick to that formula, they just become so soulless. And I think that was the issue with like Bohemian Rhapsody. But that's why I'm excited to watch Elvis, because like you said, it seemed like it was more of a performance, which I would rather watch than just someone trying to do an impression. So
yeah, I think that's fair. I think for general audiences, there's definitely some novelty in being like, look how much this guy looks like this guy.
Right.
It's not just musical biopics, but biopics in general are so overrepresented in the best actor or actress categories.
Judy for Renee Zellweger.
Yeah, a movie that's just like doesn't exist in the cultural consciousness. And yeah, Renee Zellweger just like came out of soft retirement and was like, I'm going to win an Oscar. All right, peace. And like we never heard from her again. And yeah, so it's kind of like a movie like this is great because now you can be like, yes, everyone knows that these are just like formulaic bullshit. And that's what makes this movie so funny, is that there's so many moments that are in common between all these types of movies that just by calling it out, not even like adding a punchline, but just acknowledging it is the punchline, which is why I think Walk Hard works so well. Look at that. I pulled it back together.
And to talk about another one that is also like a spiritual sequel to Walk Hard.
I also thought Rocket Man was fun. I would say. Yeah.
The Weird Al.
The one with Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
I forgot. I did want to watch that too.
I love Radcliffe.
Yeah, I think he's great.
Yeah.
And it does a lot of these like poking fun of the parodies, or not. I mean, doing the parody of all the tropes and all that kind of stuff. And it goes even wilder than this.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. I like that even though this movie came out in 2007 and people recognize like how ridiculously formulaic these movies are, they're still doing the same formula.
I mean, they did stop for a
Bohemian
while.
Rhapsody just does this.
Yeah, they did stop, but like they came back doing the same thing.
They were like, this
came back strong.
Even the Straight Outta Compton biopic was.
I still haven't seen that. I actually really wanted to watch that.
Yeah, the unofficial Celine Dion movie that came out, I want to say last year, I think it's called like Eileen. That is, I guess, a very famous to French Canadians actress, or very famous to French people, that plays that. It's I don't think supposed to be a parody, but it is the same idea where I believe this woman is 50 and she plays Celine Dion starting as a teenager through the rest of her life.
Is it supposed to be a parody?
It's not. I think it's supposed to be straight.
Oh.
However, the actress I think is a comedic actress,
Huh.
but I think she's just like a big Celine Dion
Yeah.
fan also. And I think she might have also like directed it. And I think it's called Eileen. And I
That's
keep
so
saying,
funny.
and I think this is true. So as always, I'll Google that before the episode comes out. And if none of that's true, I'll just cut right out. Anyway, so every month I'm going to think of a question to ask that's on the theme. This month, I don't have one yet. If you remember last month, I already said this to you. I'm just in my mind like, oh, we're gonna cut that out, but I don't have to say it again. I already told you guys this part. It was the thing about aliens and what you'd give them. For this month, I don't really have a thing. So I came up with. I don't think it's as strong as that one was. So if you guys have any ideas, but I came up with like, would you want to go to a performance by these characters?
For Dewey, yeah, I would.
Yeah,
Is it
Even the punk.
it's not as interesting a question.
because it's unironic? Because like in that, if we're living in that world, he's supposed to be legit famous, not like a
Well, that's
comedian.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably not actually.
Yeah, I wouldn't be into it.
It's interesting because I think what is it? He like is born like the 30s and he dies in like the 90s. It kind of seems like.
2006,
No,
I think.
2007.
Oh,
Yeah,
does
yeah.
it?
It's at yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's 71. His
Okay.
third 36 to 2007.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And he was
God,
born in 38.
it's crazy to think how long ago 2007 was that someone in the 30s was just as
Yeah.
old as my dad is now.
Yep.
But,
16 years.
Yep. I probably like maybe like this. It's kind of funny because like I think that in this universe he's got to be a huge star. Like maybe not as big as like the Beatles, but like I guess they're probably trying to mirror Johnny Cash the most.
Jenna Fischer is essentially June.
Yeah,
June,
well, yeah,
Cash,
she's
yeah.
doing the June Carter Cash thing, yeah.
We didn't talk about pre-breakout Jane Lynch just firing fastballs in this movie, but
She's very funny, but you
Yeah.
can't be like, we also didn't talk about Nat Faxon. Like, at a certain point,
he's
you
an
got-
Oscar winner.
there's got to be a line. Right, yeah. Him and Jim
we
Rash.
actually
right?
didn't talk about Jonah Hill showing up in this movie.
Yeah, I think just because we already texted about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah.
I love how angry he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bree, would you go to a performance by these characters?
Probably not. It's not my genre of music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only live performances I've seen are metal. So maybe if they would have done that punk era in that bit, I would have seen them. But no.
Yeah, I'd probably be down. I'm down for like the repertory tours of these kinds of guys. If the real life version was more Neil Diamond, probably not. But the version that's kind of Johnny Cash and Bob Dylan and a bunch of other guys, and yeah. But if it's the novelty act that's doing Starman in an astronaut costume, I probably wouldn't be down for that. We didn't even talk about the kind of murderer's row of Jewish people that they have playing.
Oh, man.
Jews.
They got Martin Starr and probably I think Simon Helberg? I forget
Simon
his last name.
Helberg.
Probably like the first season of Big Bang Theory had been
Yeah.
out, so he wasn't big. Martin Starr was like a known commodity from Freaks and Geeks, but he hadn't had his renaissance, shall we say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was friends with Judd Apatow.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
obviously Harold Ramis.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's just a murderer's row of
Yeah.
Jewish
Yeah.
people.
But it's more to me, I'm in awe that they got like that has aged great. Like when you first watched that,
Yes.
you were probably like, oh, I kind of know that guy from something maybe versus and Harold Ramis obviously, but now
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, oh, I know all these guys and they're all famous.
Oh, man. Okay, well, hey, you know what? This is a good movie. Let's get to ratings. Every week we'll get some ratings, and we'll put them on our Letterboxd at Elite 2 the movies. That's the number 2. Find us on Letterboxd. Really hard to find anyone on Letterboxd. Do your best. And if you can, I'm not going to blame you. On a scale of 0.5 to 5, on any scale of your choosing, going up in half increments, what would you give this movie as long as it's not stars?
I'll start. I will give it 4 Beatles and half of Eric Clapton out of 5 Beatles and a full Eric Clapton.
Great.
I'm probably gonna give it 4.5 particularly bad cases of being cut in half.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's a good one.
I am also gonna give it a 4.5. Candy houses out of 5.
That's good. Yeah, I'm also on 4.5 non-habit forming drugs out of 5. We liked this movie a lot. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's not in my top tier like I think I like Wet Hot more from like this parody style, and that's like where my 5 goes. If more my like, it's not quite there, but it is damn close, and it is damn.
It is really, and like I said before, it's just so impressive how it locks into a tone and it doesn't deviate at all. It's like a 2-hour long movie, which I feel like if you're thinking of parody movies, it's really tough to sustain what is essentially one joke for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I think it seems like we all watched the unrated version because I believe the normal version is just an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah. But I liked this version. I don't know what the differences are. I'm assuming it's a lot of the nudity.
Yeah.
And then I guess 28 minutes of something else.
I imagine a lot of the 70s stuff is probably cut a bit too.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, Skylar Kasdan's in this movie.
Yeah, I was going to say, I almost forgot to bring it up, but yes, and yet another movie Skylar, with Skylar Kasdan.
Yep.
As Dewdrop.
The Skylar Kasdan-verse continues.
Yes.
To the point that Bree yelled, that's Skylar Kasdan, and I was like, it can't be.
Baby Skylar.
It was.
No, it
can't possibly be
one of the most,
that dopey child.
One of the most freckled children there are. I will say, I thought it was funny. I knew nothing about this movie going into it. I'd never heard of it.
Great.
Nothing. And I think the only things I had seen John C. Reilly in were Step Brothers and Talladega Nights. But I had watched those, and then I will say this is really lame, but his Check It Out with Dr. Steve Brule freaked me out. I don't know what there was just something so weirdly ominous about that show, and it being on at like 2 a.m, and like when I was in high school, like half asleep, that just felt like a fever dream. That kind of made me nervous about watching this movie, because like I had such a weird image of John C. Reilly in my head.
That's fair. He's in a weird amount of gifs for a guy who isn't like super famous.
He does. I think that show specifically has the gif of him looking
so
confused. That's used a lot for.
Yeah.
That's used a lot.
Yeah, that show for some reason just weird vibes.
I think it's him saying "yup" from Step Brothers is a big one too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you watched Chicago anytime recently?
Probably like the last 3 years.
Okay. Does it hold up? Is it still good?
No, it's still good. I like that movie.
You should check out Chicago. He's great in it, at least.
Yeah.
I'm positive he's still great in it.
You can just also check out Boogie Nights. He's also great in that.
He doesn't have a ton to do in Boogie Nights, but
he does. No. He's in that a lot.
Is he?
Yeah.
Speaking of dogs, am I right?
Mark Wahlberg
in all the films.
Yeah,
but
you
not
know what he do?
Speaking of dogs, am I right? I'm going to keep saying it
Reed Rothschild
until it's acknowledged. I'm going to have to keep saying dogs. Yeah, so we like this movie a lot. If you liked,
if you like this movie,
go see.
Go see it. It's in theaters near you. No, it's not. It's on. I got it from Apple, and it didn't say whether or not it was the unrated cut, but I'm assuming it is.
I bought it on it. It was like it was one of those ones like you can rent it for $4, you can buy it for $13. I'm like, I'll probably watch this 3 times in my life.
Yeah, I thought about it too, but it was like earlier today, and I was like, I just got to get this on. Let's just go.
If you like dumb comedies, definitely watch it. But if you're someone that like hates that kind of like that nonsense kind of like dumb slapstick, you're gonna fucking hate this.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, there's definitely people that don't like that kind of humor. It's too stupid.
Fortunately, none of that is us. But I think that's a good point to make. If so, it's a disclaimer so people can't be mad if they like it. They don't like that kind of.
And you don't have to have watched a lot of musical biopics either. I don't think.
Yeah.
No. Yeah,
I enjoyed it, and I haven't seen a lot of them. I know the beats.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure a ton of people our age don't get the Brian Wilson thing.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter.
No, but there's enough.
You get that it's like a thing that's happening.
There's enough people that have freaked out over a magnum opus that you don't need to know the direct comparison.
Right. Yeah.
Or you can just listen to that Bare Naked Lady song. Lying in bed just like Brian Wilson did.
Yeah, it's called Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you need to know very little about the Smile Sessions to understand what's happening there. Great movie. And I guess we're just about done here. Any final thoughts on this movie or any of the other many, many things we've talked about?
I want to watch Beau's Afraid, but with John C. Reilly as Beau.
I think it'd be too funny.
What if they did an Ari Aster parody movie with John C. Reilly as the lead? I think we got something here.
Yeah.
We just need to get Adam McKay on board. Come on, Adam. Find something political to talk about in this movie.
Thanks for being on. We had Bree, Sam, and Vaz.
Thank you for having us.
Go see movies. I don't have a sign off yet. That's fine though.
We all died 3 minutes after the podcast.
Yep. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's perfect. We're gonna end. Bye.